Parents, what behavior do your kids do that you didn't actively teach them? It clearly came from them being around, raised by you? I never paid much attention, but apparently my parents said, "Where are my freaking keys?" enough for my little sister to pick up as a toddler. She found them once and excitedly announced, "Mommy, here's your freaking keys." My husband randomly grabs my butt. One day our toddler grabbed my butt in front of his dad. My husband told our kid to get his own wife. I would grab my GF around the neck when kissing her or grab her butt, and her son, 3, started doing it too. Had to cut that off fast, hahaha. Our almost 7-year-old daughter sleeps with her hand over her crotch, just like her father. He does it from years of sack taps from an older brother and friends. IDK, why the frick she does it though? It's such a strong instinct for him now that he's passed it on to future generations. Last year I had to pick my 9-year-old daughter up from school cause she told a little boy who was messing with her, "I will fricking end you." Mum didn't think it was funny. I'd be pretty proud. Kid here, 23, my dad is 60. Growing up my dad would always silently walk behind my family whenever we were out and pick up litter. Now, without even thinking about it, I get the overwhelming urge to bend down and pick up that random soda can or empty bag of chips to throw it away. Good habit, you should keep that going. My 3-year-old is very strong-willed and very stubborn. The other day I was getting her down from climbing a fence and she screamed, "No daddy." I said no, so stop fighting me on this. That must have been tripped out to hear from a 3-year-old, of all people, lol. When my son was about 3 years old I stopped by the ATM to grab some cash. He leaned as far as he could in his car seat to scream out his window, "Cheeseburger, French fry." That day I learned, 1. I took him through fast food drive-thrus too often, and 2. I'm that obnoxious person who yells at the drive-thru. Bro, are you my mom? Cause I did this when I was like 3 or 4. My daughter is 3 and has her own little set of tools. She will carry them out of the garage and run her head and go phew. Apparently I unknowingly do that when I come in from wrenching on something. That is freaking adorable. My sharp, weird and obscure sense of humor. She was always annoyed telling me my jokes are not funny. One day she came home from school saying it's all my fault. Apparently someone said something, and she made what she thought was a funny remark, but her friends gave her a blank stare, and she realized she was turning into her mother. She's given in and now we crack each other up all the time. Joys of parenting. Realizing the words you just spoke were exactly the same as what you heard as the child. I use big words in my parenting and let kids ask me what they mean. My foster kids end up starting to use big words, usually after a few months. They sometimes misuse them or really emphasize them, which is cute. I ate a tremendous mac and cheese today. My friend betrayed me. Sometimes one foster son wouldn't believe me about stuff about science and the body. We found out later his mom was super anti-education and anti-evolution, so it made sense. When he would ask me a science question and then demand to know how I knew the answer, I'd tell him I had a degree in biology. Anytime I got something wrong or didn't know an answer to something after that, he would exclaim, "I thought you had a degree in biology," even if it was like guessing what he ate from his snack. 2 of my long-term kids starting planning their walking route to school around what neighborhood cats they wanted to pet that morning. I ate a tremendous mac and cheese today. Absolutely stupendous confectionery. When my kids were little I was driving and this little old lady cut me off, and from the back I hear a little voice yell, "Come on grandma." My son is only 18 months old. The other day, my wife came home. In one hand, she was holding him, and in the other hand, she was carrying a bag of chic filet. He reached behind her neck and around to the other side to grab a fry out of the bag. I was so freaking proud of him in that moment. Don't have kids, but my nieces and nephews have picked up on little practical jokes I play on my mom, rearranging home decor, etc., and started blaming it on me. I'm honestly proud. Also, happy cake day. My son is 13 and answers nearly everything with sarcasm, and it's on point. He also sings in the shower, hums when he's nervous, and sticks his tongue out when he's concentrating on something really hard. All of those are 100% me. People say me and my mom laugh the same. This is the laugh we do during social situations we don't care about being in and sarcasm, so that's great. My wife recently pointed out that I laugh exactly like my dad. I can't unhear it now. Not a parent in this case. I found out from my mom that my dad didn't believe that kids pick things up from their parents when they are starting to speak. This changed when he and my mom occasionally heard suoos and fuck it from a tiny death going around the house. Not a parent but the child. My dad realized that he was living his whole life with undiagnosed Asperger's syndrome after I was diagnosed in elementary school. On top of that, I kind of dress like my dad a bit. I'm the kid. When I bought my first car, I negotiated so hard they actually had to get the GM of the dealership, who was my dad's best friend. When he came out and saw who it was, he kind of just sighed and was like, just give her the deal. My dad had passed away about 2 months before, but I know he would have been proud that I busted them. To this day I negotiate the crap out of everything. Just as an additional story, when I was about 3 I tried to negotiate my way out of shots at the doctor. Clearly I got the shots. My dad however was like, that's my girl. Just as an additional story, when I was about 3 I tried to negotiate my way out of shots at the doctor. Clearly I got the shots. My dad however was like, that's my girl. LOL, I liked your car story, but I feel like this would have been the better one to elaborate on. When asked to do something I don't want to do, I wave a hand in the air and say yeah and we caught our then 18-month-old daughter doing the same when we'd ask her to do things. She's 2.5 now and is still doing it when we ask her to get dressed or go to bed. Both things she doesn't like to do. My nieces use expressions from movies they've never seen, because I use them. Hey, don't rub that. That's $20,000 alpaca. You blot that crap. My youngest picked up lick my balls when he was younger, no idea where he went to kindergarten, and first day we got phone call to tell him he cannot say those words. He was running around classroom yelling lick my balls, lick my monkey balls. I'm a nanny, not a parent, but I've noticed my kiddos picking up random words and phrases I use regularly. I had no idea how often I said, there we go, till my 2-year-old charge started mimicking me. My 5-year-old loves Queen. Starts all of his sentences with listen. He laughs hysterically at horror movies, and he's really into butts. A baby boomer with some extra emphasis on the baby. I wonder at genetic components. For example, I drove my grandma nuts because I never tied my shoes. I'd slip them on and off. My oldest son also does this, though I stopped doing it years before he was born. Another example, I used to pace up and down the hallway as a teen. It cleared my head. My other son does this, yet again, something I stopped doing well before he was born. My niece holds various electronics to her ear and says hello, although it sounds more like whore. She hasn't done a phone call in her life, only video chats. My nephew mimics most of my jokes and expressions. I'm very goofy and he loves it. He had a photo shoot last Christmas or something and I legit laughed out loud seeing the results, since half of them were meme expressions that I use all the time. He's a good kid. I'm very proud of him. Not my daughter, but a friend's. My boyfriend and I are sitting in the backseat with this adorable 4-year-old girl. He pretends to fall asleep and I say what the heck, to which he replies yes. But we don't say what the crap. I admire her unpunishable sneakiness. My 7-year-old son is sarcastic, yet incredibly funny. Most nights at dinner he finds a reason to get up and leave the table, like he just forgets about dinner for a minute. Will you sit down and eat? What are you doing? I might ask him. He comes back to the table, does a floss dance in slow motion with this weird look on his face, and sings "Give it to me, I'm worth it." Then asks, you like that? Are you proud of me? In the most condescending voice he can muster. It's freaking hilarious and I will nearly fall out of my chair every time. Just talking and sounding the way I do. While my daughter and I waited in the vehicle after parking the boat and my husband was still messing around with it. Sigh mom, dad needs to get a grip about the boat. I mean, right eye roll. She was 3. She's like a mini me and it's bananas. It makes me question everything about how I am. Me and my mother sound completely indistinguishable. Not even my grandmother can tell us apart on the phone. My husband is very extroverted and genuinely cares about everyone he meets. Everywhere we go, he will ask servers, cashiers, managers etc. who their favorite superhero is. It is his way of breaking people out of their work routine persona. It then in turn gets others in the general area involved and just overall makes people happy. I was out with my 15-year-old daughter this weekend dress shopping and she immediately did the same thing. It made me so proud to see her carrying on the idea to see people, engage with them and not being too busy in her own little world. Or, I like all the little silly answers but this one is really heartwarming. My kids think Maryland is a curse word. I worked really hard to stop cussing at people when I drive, so I started calling them by their license plate state. My oldest is 16 and will still call someone a Maryland when they are being aggressively dickish. I mean, Maryland drivers are trash as a whole. My daughter is 13 years old and doesn't like taking showers. She isn't smelly or anything. She forces herself to take showers. When I was around her age I would do the exact same thing. I would wet my hair a bit and tell my mom I took a shower. My dad used to smell my hair to make sure I used shampoo. My stepsister and I would spray my hair with air freshener in the bathroom. LOL yikes. I asked my friend's 5-year-old to give my dogs water. She had previously stayed with us, with her mom of course, for 2.5 months and it was her favorite chore. She looks dead forward and says fine if I have to provide water for the dogs. I didn't choose dogs, and goes in the kitchen. I looked up and said she didn't have to. She looked me square in the eye and said what am I doing here already? Giving my godbrother's water, her mother's child. I was telling my parents that I only like to chew like 1/5 of a stick of gum at a time. My dad looked at me like I had 2 heads so I said what it's not that weird and he told me about how my grandpa was notorious for doing this and would leave like sticks of gum with just the top bitten off all over the place and it used to drive my grandma crazy. Doing this might be more common than I think it is but so far the only person besides me who I've ever heard did this was my grandpa. Yes. My 3-year-old son ends up sleeping in our bed a lot, working on transitioning him into his own room. He sleeps next to me and puts his cold feet under me and around my legs. I do the same to his father. LOL. I've got a toddler and it's more that he repeats what we say. Only when you hear it do you stop and think wow I must say that all the time stuff like what's happened, what's going on, I told you. LOL it's quite funny but makes us quite careful about the words and actions we use to display anger and frustration. I've found I've become a lot more articulate with describing how I feel and talking about how I feel now. So strange. Yeah, that's why folks should be careful what they say in front of and around kids. They are capable of picking up and repeating what you say a lot more than you know. And some things shouldn't be said in front of them, anyway. Not mine, but my friend keeps complaining that his sons have the same taste in women than he does. He's really upset about it. My son does not want accolades. He keeps doing great things and getting awards and HS and he dreads the attention. I didn't understand this until I got remarried. When I moved in, my second husband wanted me to display my athletic trophies. I mean, yeah, I kept them, but they're all in the basement in a box next to my baby pictures. The thought of displaying those made me cringe. When I get awards now, I cringe. I see where he gets it. Me too. I don't like the attention of success at all. It's like that quote, success never surprised anyone. I worked so hard to achieve something and to have a lot of people congratulate me on things they didn't go through or even know the half of just seems strange. My brother-in-law has trouble when he is alone with his kids. My sister does a lot of the legwork keeping them in line. When she leaves they go bonkers and his parenting technique is hilarious. Listening to him yell what the heck are you doing is so funny to me and something my sister has never seen. I can't emphasize enough how him struggling with them is so funny to me and something my sister is completely ignorant of. I really need to record it but it's so interspersed no video of it would do the comedy justice. I love him but those kids have him wrapped around their fingers so much that he is always behind the ball on what is actually happening. The kids now are 3 and 5 but I have been laughing at the show for years. I can't explain properly to my sister the show that happens when she leaves. It's a complete mystery to her why I joke about her leaving, but my dad is in the loop, so he and I have this running inside joke about my brother-in-law having the kids. He is a great dad, but the chaos that happens when he is alone combined with his personality is goddamn hilarious. Phrases I say all the time. The way they always look for the funny in all situations. My 9-year-old son came home from school after a week with his mother and shows me a coloring page of Forky he cut out. He proceeds to create a homework issue. He tells me he doesn't remember the assignment and needs me to look it up online for him. Waits for me to log in and search his school website for it. Then grabs Forky and proceeds to obstruct my view with a dancing Forky as he sings a song to me that I always sing to him when he's frustrated, and took me a solid 2 minutes to figure out what's happening here as I look for his assignment. He starts to laugh so hard that he gives it away. That's when I figured it out. The whole thing was a ruse for him to do what I do to him and his sister. A proud moment for me, yes, but frustrating at first. We laughed after this, it was funny moment. Say crap when they drop things. Wipe off the sheets when they get in bed. My hair sheds like crazy, so I wipe them off before going to sleep. They're 5 and 1.5. My 10-month-old loves to be scared. The other day I was washing my hands and he quietly crawled around the corner and yelled, "Ah," really loudly at me. It scared the crap out of me, but I'm also really proud. I'm usually teasing my wife, either grabbing her butt or breasts, and my 3-year-old daughter started do that to my wife's mom. My daughter is 4 and she looks like my husband's twin, except her hair is blonde and curly. I try not to use swear words around her, but apparently she picks up on sarcasm. She was at her grandmother's and they were having tea with cookies and little plates with another lady in the bottom of the retirement building my mill lives in. While having tea, one of the other residents walked up and said, "Give me a cookie." My daughter looked at him and said no. He puffs up and said, "I was an admiral in the US Navy and I want a cookie." She gives him a look. My mill said it was like me and says, "You didn't say please." She then waves her hand and says, "You can go now," which is a phrase I use when I'm super pissed off at someone doing something I don't like and I can't yell at them. My kid physically doesn't look like me, but goddamn she has my personality in spades. I am the aunt in this situation and I play a lot of games with my nephew. A lot of times we play separate games in the same room. One time we both were playing GTA on separate consoles and he sang out of nowhere that line, "Move B, get out the way." I was mortified. He was 9 at the time. Now I don't play GTA when he's around because sometimes I just sing that out of habit. He got rid of that habit after 3-4 months, fortunately. My son and daughter are so good with babies. My son especially. He will seek out a toy from his collection to give to the baby. They freaking cuss. The little mother suckers cuss more than I do. No respect, I tell them, and they just say, "Oh, shut your pie hole, grandma." If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.